teachers?
Mr. What was his name? I can see his face, but I can't. Trask
I remember.
was the teacher in the high school.
He was also the basketball coach.
Yes, he was. He taught, didn't he teach history?
I wouldn't know because I wasn't in high school at that
You weren't
time.
up that far yet.
Not quite.
I thought maybe you might.
Did you have Pop Nichols?
Yes, I had him in geometry and algebra.
Bill Edwards, perhaps?
I beg your pardon?
Bill Edwards?
No, that was a little bit before my time, I think.
Mr. and Mrs.
I think he
Edwards.
followed me.
Did you have Grace Rotzel
Yes,
for English?
yep. I liked her very much.
She became the director of the school in Rose Valley
Oh,
in
did she?
Pennsylvania. That's what she left us to become. And stayed with that school until her retirement.
What happened to her friend that used to go around together all the time?
Alice Harrington.
Yes, Al's Hack.
She taught folk dancing along the Charles Raybould.
Yeah,
We looked her up in New York when we were up there, living up there. And she came and had dinner with us on Sunday.
Yeah.
And but then we lost track of her, and I didn't have any idea what happened to her.
No, I knew Grace, and who was the other one?
Alice Harrington.
Alice Harrington. Alice was teaching at the school in Connecticut, where I was for a year.
In Greenwich.
Teaching.
Greenwich, Connecticut.
Greenwich.
Was that after she was here?
No, that was before
Before
she
she
was
came
here.
down.
Yeah.
Do you both?
She and Grace came here after. I met them up there, and they came here after I was.
Do you both remember Mr. Raybould, Charles Raybould?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
You couldn't forget him.
No. Wonderful
He
instructor.
was quite a character.
See, he came to us directly from having studied under Cecil Sharp in England, and then had the tragic death in
Yes.
the plane wreck with Mrs. Botstein, who was his accompanist.
Well, that was too bad. He certainly could organize a whole floor full of people in the folk dancing.
And the boys all really responded to the folk
Yes.
dance, the Morris dances under his
Sword dances.
guidance. Oh, yes.
They all liked the sword dances.
You're both happy that you had the exposure.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
At that school.
Yes.
I think of studies, I think I was interested in mathematics, although I was never such a good student in math, but I liked it.
And who was your math instructor?
I think it was
Mr.
Mr. Nichols. Yeah, Pop Nichols.
And Ronald, and you did enjoy the manual arts too, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
In fact, you taught it, didn't you?
I did
taught a
it
year?
in Greenwich. That's where I taught it, in Greenwich. I didn't at Fairhope.
One of the nice things was that the boys and girls took manual training, and the boys and girls took cooking
Yes, they did.
and prepared the lunches for
For the school home?
school home. And then we worked together in the jewelry, arts and crafts. And it wasn't that the boys would do the manual training and the girls would do the cooking, which you would naturally would think would happen.
Well, those were required subjects. Manual training was required, the crafts was required, and if you remember, there was a creative period after every academic period. We had no time for study periods. And that was part of the philosophy of Marietta Johnson's, that we have this activity after a mental exposure.
Well, I think that was developed more after I was in school. I don't remember any of that while I was there.
You don't remember the activity periods, Ronald?
No.
You don't?
You had them whether you remember them or not. Because they
Well,
were,
I might have had that, but I don't remember them as being definite.
Wheeling started a football team out there. And they look in the picture we have of them, and they look pretty weak. I guess they won a few games.
well, Marietta Johnson did not believe in contact sport, but in those days they played some touch football on campus. And basketball also was a good game. It's gotten very rough now.
Yeah.
But
sure
those
is.
sports in those days were quite different than what they are now.
Well, then they did have a football team later on, after I got out. That teacher that you mentioned just a while ago, the man,
Charles Raybould,
no.
Crass,
What'd the man do?
Yes, he taught, he had the football team.
he was coach.
Coach.
Well, Trask did.
Yes, that's right.
Trask did it.
Well, Marietta Johnson wasn't happy with football, even though it was just touch football.
Why,
I
did she
know.
ever say?
Yeah, she thought it was too rough
Well, it is,
and
right.
would lead to physical contact. And of course, in her theory, she wanted the sports to be not the spirit of win or die. She wanted that to have that wonderful feeling of self-competition. One reason I think golf is so wonderful, because you can be self-competitive in golf throughout the whole game. So we used to have long discussions about sports and what they should be and shouldn't be.
We played tennis. Of course, that's a sport.
And we had the wonderful field days. Do you remember those?
Sure
yes,
do.
Sure.
And we had the two teams now. We did it in the beginning of the year. We had the red team and the white team. And the whole school chose to be on what side.
There again, you're getting out of my area.
And
I was out of school when they did that.
they used to go to Mobile and compete with, I don't know what school it was over there. I remember Wheeling was high jumping.
And Ronald, as being a psychiatrist, do you realize why she had those activity periods after an academic period?
Well, I don't know if I thought anything about that.
Well, that was to let the energies, because see, she was concerned about the whole person, the mental, the physical, and the spirit, as she used to talk about the sweet
yeah.
spirit.
Sure.
And she realized that even up to the time we were 18, really probably all through our lives, we should be doing and just not confined to sitting to learn. And also her thinking, and I think of these big schools today, where the children can spend the entire school day of not even getting outside because the plants are so large, they go from room to room within one building. And she purposely wanted those 10 buildings on campus. And if you'll remember, we had 15 minutes between periods in high school as we left one subject to go to another. That was all in the psychology of what she thought we needed for our full development. She used to say that was really the social time for the children to have their intercourse of one to another. So that was all planned.
You certainly know more about her than most people.
Well, Ruth, you have to remember that I went through the school, I had the teacher's training, then I was never on faculty, but I was always there, being called upon, and then I lived with her
Living with her, I think I liked it.
a great deal. And of course, Kenny, having married Ken, who was her foster son, and he was so devoted to her and to the philosophy,